Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
Neil, can I be frank for a moment?
You can be Frank, you can be Larry, you can be Fred, whatever you want to be.
Okay. I am Frank. Okay, that's it. Right back to you there, Neil.
All right.
And for the rest of the show, I'll be Phil.
I was sure you'll be Phil. What was that joke? I'm always frank and earnest with women. In New York, I'm frank, and in Chicago, I'm earnest.
I think that's an old Marx Brothers joke.
Really? I think I heard it on some like rom-com or something somewhere, or some kind of comedy film. Anyway.
Yes.
We're here to talk about songwriting, right? Yeah, okay. So in that regard, please send your comments and questions to at Song Talk Radio on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mention, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. And before we get to tonight's guest, a few items on our pre-show list. Once again, we've launched our Songwriting Challenge 2023, and this year's challenge is all about the music theory. It's writing a song in a mode that you're not familiar with, or an unusual mode. And on our website, songtalk.ca, you can find on the sidebar a page that we've dedicated to the Songwriting Challenge, and on there is a bunch of resources, some videos, some links to hook theory and whatnot. Because this one, especially if this is something you're not really familiar with, a little research is maybe a good idea, and try and look at these videos and get a handle on what writing in a mode looks like, and then bring your own process to it. And as we've done in the previous years, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your songs, your answers to the challenge. Phil and I will be sharing our answers to this challenge in June. And then following in the summertime, we will be showcasing our listeners. So your answers to the challenge, just as we've done last year and the year before. So it's always a great learning experience for everybody, and great fun. So keep your songs coming in, and let us know. Feedback at songtalk.ca if you have any questions about this challenge,
yes.
Or comment on the webpage, and then we can share the answers with everybody on the podcast and on the webpage as well. If you have any questions regarding this challenge or modal writing or anything, we're happy to answer them as best we can. And we're really excited about our show for next week. Phil, do you want to tell the listeners what we got lined up for next week?
Well, back in the before times when we recorded live at CJRU 1280 AM in Toronto, we would have what we called a draft show, and we would choose a subject like favorite Christmas songs or favorite songs of the 80s, and we'd kind of go in rounds, and the idea is it's basically an excuse to talk about your favorite songs and why you like them from a songwriting standpoint. And you always hope to snipe someone else's choice, which means they can't say their choice, they have to choose something else, and there's sort of a very random scoring thing that we do, and it's really fun. I'm looking forward to it. And from the before times, Vanessa Vreeland, our old social media person, will be joining us via Zoom, which will be awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, Susan Cattaneo will be back as well.
Yeah,
because she's got a huge brain. So it's going to be fun.
Awesome. And totally looking forward to that. And you'll find out next week what the theme of the draft show is, because it's a pretty interesting one.
That's right. And Neil, you got some monitor stands finally. Did it solve your problem?
Yeah, when we were talking about on the podcast last week, I had an issue with my studio monitors that they started clicking a couple of weeks ago. I got a little click, 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 click coming from one. I finally accidentally discovered that it was because my new Wi-Fi connection or internet connection, the Wi-Fi modem is underneath my desk where my studio monitors are, and that's what causes clicking sound in your monitors if they're not properly shielded. That any Wi-Fi signals going through the air are going to interfere in your monitor. So I got some monitor stands off of Amazon that clamped to my desk and raised them up about 18 inches or so off the surface of the desk, and that has pretty much cleared out the clicking because it's now
Really?
a good 3 feet away from the modem,
And they're metal?
and I can't hear any clicking anymore. So
Are they metal?
the stands.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're metal stands.
Oh, I wonder
Metal
if that's
stands with
it.
the platform, and they came with padding as well, like acoustic pads to
Nice.
put my speakers on. So, I mean, I might be fooling myself, but when I first listened through them, I'm like, is the bass actually clearer? Like these are little 5-inch monitors. There's no bass,
Yeah.
and I'm like, is the bass actually clearer that they're off the table and they have an acoustic thing underneath them? And
Nice.
it may be psychosomatic, but I feel like the bass is clearer.
It probably is slightly, it's,
Slightly, it's a very minute thing. Yeah, very subtle
well,
thing.
that's
Because I've been
great.
listening to these monitors for like 20 years. I know what they sound like when they're sitting on my
Yes,
desk, which has been the case for forever. So I can hear probably subtle little differences in them.
that's great.
But yeah.
I wanted to mention a great television show that's on Apple TV Plus
Oh yeah.
is called Shmigadoon. And especially if you're a fan of movie musicals, as I am,
Mm,
it is basically a show where these two normal people find themselves suddenly in a movie musical.
mm,
And it's great. And the best thing about it is the quality of the songs is so high.
really.
A lot of modern musicals I've found, they're a lot of fun and very emotional at the moment, but they don't have those lasting melodies that the classic musicals from the 40s and the 50s had, like South Pacific or, The Wizard of Oz or any of those ones. Schmigadoon has some fantastic songs, like really
Mm.
good, memorable, catchy songs,
And then these are all new songs, like they're
all
not
brand new
throwbacks. Okay.
songs.
All right.
And it's filled with all these sort of inside jokes. So if you really know your movie musical, there's all sorts of these little sort of references and inside jokes. It's
Huh.
just fantastic.
Wow.
And they just came out with season two and have managed to actually do a great job for season two. So
Awesome.
Schmigadoon, if you want to hear some fantastic movie musical songs.
All right. Definitely have to look that up. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
it's great.
Alrighty. And one little last bit of news that I heard on the social medias somewhere or on CBC Radio or something like that. Jamie Lee Curtis's hot take on matinee concerts is hilariously relatable, according to E News. So Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, the famous actress, 64-year-old actress, has proposed that more daytime events in general should be occurring, including concerts. So she said, "I'm challenging musicians to do concerts during the day." Jamie stated on today on March 7. "Why are there no matinees? For instance, I love Coldplay. I would love to go see Coldplay. I would love it, but the problem is I'm not going to go see Coldplay if they start their show at 9 and there's an opening act. I want to hear
Mm.
Coldplay at 1 p.m." At least she wants to hear Coldplay. That's a thing.
It's like that famous thing I've seen going through the internet, which is someone invited me out to something that starts at 8 o'clock p.m. Not everyone's on cocaine.
Exactly.
But that is true. Back in the day when I was playing at Lee's Palace in Toronto a lot, we'd play Mondays and Tuesdays because we were a new band.
Hmm.
And the shows wouldn't start till 10, and very often
Yeah.
you wouldn't get on till like midnight or 12:30 at night.
Yeah.
And I used to tell them, you're not getting anyone here on Mondays and Tuesdays because most people have to work. Why don't you have early shows on Monday and Tuesday, like maybe at 8 or something, so that people
Mhm.
will come out and see a show? And they didn't want to do that. And it was so stupid because
Mhm.
not everybody is a barfly.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah, for sure. And
but
I've noticed that being in a band, like the Friday, Saturday night bookings we get typically are like 10 p.m. or later. But
yeah.
the if we do a show even on a Thursday or something like that, then typically the doors usually open at 7. The first band is on at 8. Everything's wrapped up
Oh,
by like
finally. Yeah.
11, which is
Yeah.
better. But you were just talking about musicals, Phil, and it's like musicals have matinees. Why don't Why don't other concerts have matinees?
Yeah, yeah, it's
There's
true.
no good reason you can't be, I have a feeling it has to do with drinking, right?
Yeah.
No one's gonna chug down 3 beers at 2 p.m. So you got to wait till later. But
Well,
you
not
know,
not enough, I suppose.
have coffee while you listen to a heavy metal show. I don't
Hey,
know.
I would do that.
Afternoon tea with Metallica.
It's probably coming up.
Would not be surprised. Okie dokie. All right, I think that's it for our pre-show. Tonight, we're happy to welcome country pop artist Jenny Mallard, and here's a taste of her new song, "The Anchor."
I remember the moment, this one I won't forget. A cold day in October, I looked over and I smiled when our eyes met, and you swear to this day that I came on to you.
Canadian country folk pop artist Jenny Mallard is a celebrated musician and storyteller who is known for her authentic lyrics and impactful storytelling. Fresh off the heels of releasing her debut album, Into the Deep, the St. John's, Newfoundland-based artist has taken the East Coast music scene by storm with sold-out shows across the across the region and a performance that saw the artist open for the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra's Celebrating the Women of Country show. With numerous and steadily growing career accolades, the East Coast Music Award-winning artist has also received a nomination for Music NL Award in the Country Artist of the Year category as a member of Rod Jackson and the Perfect Strangers. Welcome to Song Talk Radio, Jenny Mallard.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So great to have you on the show, and quite a career you've had in so far. And just in listening to you, that snippet of the tune, and of course we've heard your tune before. Great catchy song. And I'm curious about your process because often we have guests on the show, and I always try to guess what comes first for them. Are they lyric driven? Are they melody driven? And I'm having a hard time guessing with you because the lyrics are good and the melodies are so catchy that I'm guessing you're melody driven and melody comes first for you. Is that true, or how does your process work?
It's hard. It depends on the song.
Okay.
Definitely. Maybe that's why it's a little hard to guess. But for me, it's more like concept driven. Like I'll come up with a concept and I'll be like, okay, like this would make a good song. So for the anchor,
What was the
actually,
anchor for the anchor?
yeah. Well, actually, I did You're the Anchor That Keeps My Feet on the Ground. That was the concept. So yes, it would be the lyric driven. So but that was the base. And then I just kind of, once I get that concept and sometimes like a catchy, like you said, the catchy hook or something that's sticking in my mind, then I just base the whole song around that. So for this one, I actually had an occasion. So I wrote this one when I was in a relationship. We were in a relationship for 2 years. And, actually at this point it was our 1 year anniversary. Sorry. And, I had an occasion and I really wanted to do something special for him. And, so, spoiler alert, I did just release a breakup album, so we know how that ended. but
Always the flip
yeah.
side, isn't it?
There would be very little music if there weren't breakups,
Yes.
That's a great way of getting motivated for some reason.
Can't be all love songs. So when you come up for the concept, then does melody then follow quickly afterwards? Or do you develop an entire lyric before you get around to the music side?
Yeah, I think the lyric, it starts often with the lyric and then the melody comes, and I think I tamper with both once I start getting something, like a feel for something. So if I find a really good melody, then I'll adjust the lyrics to it. Or if I find a really good lyric, I'll adjust the melody. So it's like a balancing act there in that way. And typically, again, when I find that really catchy, really sometimes even witty. Some of my songs, like when it's kind of like an earworm, when I find that, then that is the foundation, and then I try. That's the feel, and getting a feel for a song is really important too. Like really trying to create and hearing the song in your head the way it's going to sound at the end. That's really important too, because you almost lay the foundation. It's almost like building a house. It's like you're laying the foundations and then you're building everything around it.
Cool.
Do you do a lot of collaboration, or are you mostly working on your own?
I wrote my full album by myself, actually. So every lyric I on my album was completely by myself. And I think that songwriting is a really vulnerable process for me. It's like all of my songs are written from experience and something that I've been through or something that I care about. And yeah, I'd love to venture into the co-writing and things like that. It's just so vulnerable. I'm so scared. But I really want to do it, and I really want to push my boundaries. But yeah, for the first album, I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could do it all on my own and kind of write a story from start to finish. And that it is a concept album. So when you listen to it from beginning to end, it tells the story. And yeah, so that's kind of, I wanted it to be an authentic experience for people. And it was hard. Not that it was hard to co-write, but it was hard because it was all coming from my perspective. So I did get opinions and things on certain songs and certain lyrics. Talking to my mom, I'm like, what do you think of this lyric? Like, what do you think of this sound? And she's always like, oh, I love it. So
that's really interesting, because like for me personally, like I've ventured into writing a song that came from a deep emotional place, like a year or two ago or whatever, right? And I was talking about it with somebody, and they told me that collaborations is actually a good way to do that, because it actually gives you as a writer a bit of distance from that. And when you bring in somebody else on it and get their take on it, then it sort of opens it up to different experiences, and actually. And then maybe that's not such a bad thing, is to put a little bit of distance between yourself and your content, and then maybe it's arguably more relatable to other people. So that's not to say that keeping it all to yourself, it cannot be equally do that, but that is one thing I've heard, and one thing that I guess I've considered.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe not haven't done exactly in that regard, but yeah.
I even want to dabble in like writing, like all my first album. Again, it was all from like a very close perspective. Some of them were exaggerated characters a little bit,
Of course.
But a lot of it was coming from a deep emotional spot, like you said. But I think in the second album, I do want to create that distance. I do want to explore what it would be like to write from other people's perspectives, or an interesting perspective, because there's only so much I can go through in one's life. You gotta kind of, I've been through a lot, so it's, I could write about a lot of things, but yeah, like I think it's really interesting writing from other people's perspectives too, or an interesting perspective, or creating a character and writing from that perspective. That is the plan for the second album, because yeah, it's like you said, you can touch people with authenticity, and writing from your own personal experience and being vulnerable in that way. But then also when you're like collaborating or writing from a different perspective that you may not have personally experienced, like you said, you can reach a different audience, you can reach different people, and you can touch different people. So yeah.
Do you go through a lot of lyric editing after you're done, or are they kind of done and that's it?
Yeah, depends on the song. If I really get in the flow, I find it just comes. And like certain songs, like I've sat down and written within hours, and they were done, and it was just like, where did I go? Like, what happened there? Like,
In the zone.
Yeah, you're just in the zone, and it's almost like a spiritual process a little bit, and it's like, and it just flows, and that has happened for multiple songs. And then other songs, like, again, this album took me 6 years to write. So it took me a long time to write these songs. It wasn't just, and it was because I was coming from a place of inspiration. I almost had to be in a certain feeling very deeply in order to write. And yeah, so basically certain songs, again, I had the concept, I started writing, and there would be a little bit of editing, a lot of, working with the lyrics, kind of massaging them out. And but as for revisions, like, yeah, maybe 2 or 3, but once something sticks to me, I know it's going to stick. And then I sometimes, I play a song live, like, a week later after I write it. So, it's almost like I present it. And even the song I do, actually, the first song I released, that was the most recently written song at that time. And I just wanted to get it out and get it released. And that one, it was almost like it was a one and done kind of thing. I wrote it within a couple hours, and I was like, I want to release this, and went straight to that process. And it is like the revision process. It can be, especially when you're consulting other people and things like that, which I did on that song. And I guess it's just the revisions. It depends on the song, and it depends. There's lyrics that I grapple with, and songs that I've written like a couple years ago too. Like, I took them back, and some of the lyrics just they didn't resonate with me as much. So I had to revise them after years of playing them too, which was an interesting interesting process. But yeah, that's kind of mainly when it's written, unless something doesn't sit right with me, and then it has to be changed. So
are you doing any pre-production before you record them, or?
So basically the process is just the demos. I create demos on my home studio. And then I have a wonderful producer, and I send the demo off, and he creates what's exactly in my head and just like creates it, which is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did you find your producer?
So I found him. His name is Clint Curtis. And he's worked with a lot of really fabulous musicians, Jason Benoit, Justin Fancy, all in the country era. And I did a little bit of research. I played around, trying different sounds with different producers at the beginning of getting my music released. And I found Clint. He actually worked with a girl who I knew from my management company. And I really liked her sound. I really liked her country, like the pop, the instruments that were used in her recordings. And then I found out that Clint was recording them, and I was like, I think this would be a really good fit. And I reached out to Clint, and I said, hey, I have these demos. You want to take a listen? And he listened to them. He was like, yeah, I love them. I'll do it. So it was a pretty simple process. He was awesome. But again, the process of getting money for that is a different story, but
yes.
I think the finding the producer part was the easy part.
Did you go through Factor or anything? Or?
Yeah, so we had Arts and L funding, and then we had we applied for Music and L. We didn't get it the first time, and then I got the smaller Factor one. So that all went towards the album. So yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
That was a big process.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you something about something you mentioned a few minutes ago about the earworms.
Yeah.
And like sometimes we call them hooks, whatever, right? But like when you come up with a melody like that, do you remember it? Do you grab your phone real quickly and sing it into your phone so that you don't forget it? Because often, sometimes when you come up with a hook, that's really catchy and something, if you try to remember it the day after, it ain't there anymore, or it's not quite the same.
Oh yeah,
How do you deal
I
with
gotta
that?
I gotta have my phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take a little video sometimes when I'm messing around.
Right.
Or like if I'm in the car, actually some of my best songwriting has happened in the car. And then I'll just whip out my voice note and I'll just hum along, sing along. Actually, my most recent song that I wrote, that isn't on the album. It's just something I was messing around with recently. It started in the car. I was like humming along, like, and this is so weird, but when I'm in the car by myself, I often don't listen to music.
Mm.
But I find that, and that's just from growing up, we never had the radio on, which is so strange because we're so musical. Anyway, but we never had the radio on. And so yeah, so I find almost like I'm so musical. So I'm like driving with the radio off sometimes. I don't even realize it, but sometimes that peace and that quiet actually like grows something like a lyric, like a hook, like an earworm, something like that, because you're actually sitting with yourself. It's similar to meditation. It's like you're sitting with yourself in quiet and creativity sparks. So
Yeah, this is very true. You're never songwriting with music in the background.
No, exactly.
I mean, it's way too distracting.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. If you're driving around with that kind of intention. Okay, so we you already told us a little bit about where the anchor came from. So why don't we take a listen to the whole song, and then we'll dive in a little bit more detail on the song then.
I remember the moment, this one I won't forget. A cold day in October, I looked over and I smiled when our eyes met, and you swear to this day that I came on to you. But you're the one who asked me out, leaving my house while putting on your shoes, and all the games we played, all the things that we say, who knew that day would lead us here. And now I feel your heartbeat, like the beat of a drum, and your loving so sweet, sweet, sweet. Maybe I think you're the one. And we know that things happen and life always gets us down, but you're the anchor that keeps my feet on the ground. I met your family at a funeral, and you met mine at a wake. Seems like you know this God-forsaken sadness life gave us a lucky break. And now today, as we sit in this room, I hope you know as you hold my hand, you're my best friend, and I'm so proud of you and all your goofy ways, and all the things that you say. I want you to stay and hold me near, so I can feel your heartbeat, like the beat of a drum, and your loving so sweet, sweet, sweet. Maybe I think you're the one. And we know that things happen and life always gets us down, but you're the anchor that keeps my feet on the ground. ground.
Very nice.
Nice.
Thank you.
Great tune. Yeah. The thing that really stands out to me about this song is that it almost follows the rules of Nashville songwriting to a T.
Really?
There's storytelling in the verses. There's central idea in the chorus. It's more or less 4 chords in the truth. There's a few more chords than that, I think.
Yeah.
But and it's just you know and it's very and it's very simple in its approach, and not simple in its approach, but it's not abstract. You know, it's very storytelling and very straightforward about what it's about, and very clear about what it's about. That's really interesting to me, and the rhymes are fascinating.
Thank you.
Because you don't like your verse is actually, at least the end of the verse. Asked me out, leaving my house. Okay, came on to you, asked me out, leave my house. So out and house, and then you and shoes. So it's like an A-B-B-A rhyme scheme.
That's true.
Most of the time you see A-B-A-B or A-A-B-B, like couplets. But you don't often see A-B-B-A. That's kind of a different rhyme scheme. And then you change it up in a pre-chorus and you change it up in the chorus. So it's not the same rhyme scheme throughout the song. So that gives it a little bit of variety in the other sections, because your chorus is just as wordy as your verse. It's not a simple chorus, and it twists to different places and comes back. And the chorus is actually more complex, maybe than the Nashville prescription. Maybe would probably encourage you to do a really, really simple pared down chorus. But your chorus has got a lot going on, which is cool too. But yeah, great stuff. Very, very poppy, very catchy.
Thank you.
Bill,
Yeah,
your
it's cool.
thoughts?
Well,
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jenny.
No, it's cool. No, so I write in like poetry stanza, right? And and the ABBA, ABAB, like that kind of stuff. Like I'm not actively doing it. Like I am when I'm writing it.
You're consistent about it.
Yeah, and I'm consistent. And I try to, again, but I think I learned that obviously in grade school and when we were writing poetry and stuff like that, but it just kind of stuck. And like what sounds right is kind of what flows. But I do in actually the lyric booklet for the album, I got my marketing person. I got her to write it out as if it was like exactly how I wrote it in poetry stanza, so people could see the rhyme. Because like people who don't analyze this stuff, for a living, basically, you don't really know what's happening there. Like you don't understand what's supposed to rhyme with what, So, so yeah, I got her to write it out in the poetry stanza exactly how it was written, so that people could see the actual rhyme scheme of it. So,
well,
yeah.
if you ever study with Pat Pattison from Berklee School of Music, you got that free course on Coursera.org for the Songwriting 101, right? And when he talks about rhymes, he always talks about it in terms of the power that you have as a songwriter in terms of your rhymes. Because if you drive those couplets, you A B A B or A A B B A A B B throughout your whole entire song, that really goes together with like a very positive a lyric. An A B A B rhyme wants to push forward a little bit more. So you can tie those sorts of things to the emotion that is in your lyric and or the emotion that you want to convey as another beyond what the words are saying. What do you want the listener to feel? Because you're right, the average listener is not going to pick up on this kind of analysis point of view on it, but they're going to feel something. And they're going to feel something if you're perfect rhyming every single line, and they're going to feel something different if you're doing an ABBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally different. I made use of this really great little hook device, which is the repeated words, which is the day, day, day.
Yeah.
And some people might be tempted to fill those 3 notes up with different words. But the fact that you repeat those three words in the verses and then in the chorus as well, really, it's like the Who's My Generation. That that sort of was the hook. That sort of that vocal effect, and that really brings it really hooky. I really like the end of the chorus. We have, and life always brings us down, and then how it ties to the last, to your money shot, which is the you're the one who keeps my feet on the ground. It's just such a strong pairing. It's really, really wonderful. And I just love that about this song. One thing I wanted to ask you is, so it's verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Did you ever think about doing a bridge? You did sort of like a musical bridge, but it was really kind of soloing on the verse.
Yeah.
Had you thought about doing a bridge?
Yeah, I did. So I thought about it, and I was like, this song is so wordy, and it's just so full of words. And I was like, once I wrote, the two verses, the chorus, I was like, and the pre-choruses, like, I was like, I think that the message is here. The message is complete, and there's no real anything that I wanted to add to it. And that's when I was like, the vocal runs, I was like, you know what? I think that's going to be a nice little break in the song, as if like kind of giving like the listener a break of listening to the whole story and just kind of listening to the song, if that makes sense, and just kind of keeping that catchy beat kind of going. And I did think about the bridge, but I decided on the vocal runs, and I was like, it's sweet, and the song is like pretty long too. So it's like 4:19. Yeah. So we almost did a radio edit too. That was something that was on the table at one point, because
What were we going to take out for the radio edit?
Just the vocal runs. Yeah. We thought about it, but we decided against it because we at the time we weren't doing commercial radio. We were doing community radio, which is a little different. So, but now we're moving into commercial radio, so we're gonna see where it goes. But yeah, so we kind of thought about it, but yeah, I mean, the song is long enough, and I think that it was really, the message was there. Everything that I wanted to say, the whole story was kind of complete. And for me, it's a lot of the storytelling. So there's nothing that I wanted to really add to it, except, but there had to be something between, the second last chorus and the last chorus. So put those little vocal runs in there, and that's some of the people sing along to that one a lot more, because they're like, yeah, like I know this one, this part,
For sure.
Yeah, and it's a cute little thing to kind of show off the vocals a little bit too, because it does get up there. So I did, definitely, for sure. And if I made it as wordy as the rest of the song, I think we would have had a 5-minute song on our hands. So
well, it doesn't feel long. Like it's I didn't even realize it was 4 minutes. Actually,
I thought it was like a 3-minute song. It feels like a 3-minute song.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's what you want.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Because
exactly.
You're right. There are a lot of sections. There's a long verse of short, medium pre-chorus, a long chorus, and then repeat that. And it's not. I mean, the first impression of the song is that it's a very happy love song, but it's not saccharine, right? I think the life always gets us down, but you're the anchor. The nice twist on the chord progression there, and the way the melody goes and everything. It feels absolutely right. Like that really is the hookiest part of the song in a lot of ways. Like it's the part where it kind of twists a little bit and then grounds it on the ground, literally on the ground. And then you do go into verse 1 is all happy. The chorus is very happy. The pre-chorus, then verse 2 gets into funerals and all this godforsaken sadness. It's not traumatic, but it is traumatic. Obviously, it's a funeral, but but it's still got the positive spin on it. So on the whole, Yeah, basically what I'm saying is that it's not bubbly, it's not saccharine, but it's still a genuinely happy love song, which is nice to see, because often they're too saccharine and you're just like
And it's also the storytelling aspect of it too, right?
Yeah, I
You
think
couldn't
so.
just write a whole song about, I love you, like
Yeah.
I could, I guess. But I do like having that meaty substance, where I'm kind of telling it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
And our relationship wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, so it was very accurately represented. Those words were true. I met his family at a funeral, you met mine at a wake, right? So it's all the words are true too in the song. Like everything comes from a genuine experience. And yeah, but it adds to that storytelling. It makes you want to kind of listen more, because that's, you listen, you kind of hear the beginning and it's like, oh, that's a cute love story. And then you hear the chorus and it's like, okay, and life always gets us down. And then it's like, okay, how does life get you down? And then you listen to the second chorus and it's like, well, all this happened, and it's like, and then it goes back, like you said, and it brings it back and kind of talks about life always gets us down, but you're the anchor, right?
What's great is also the range of melodies. There's so many.
Yeah.
It is a style, and the styles do come and go. But there's a style of pop singing, which is just na 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 na, like very, very few
2,
notes
3
just
note
going back
range.
and forth, and that's okay. But this is, there's a great range of notes. Like it's not just 4 notes over and over again. There's each section has like a fully formed and considered melody, and which is maybe it's more common in country. I don't know. Although in some of the country I've been hearing lately, it's not so much that way either. So. Which I really appreciate. I mean, I love those melodies of the Beatles and Joni Mitchell, where they have the huge ranges, and it's it's a really
certainly
great
it's certainly
song.
an older style, though, isn't it? It's not prevalent in pop music these days.
Yeah,
It's funny you say Joni Mitchell, because that's who I get compared to a lot. Her and Alanis Morissette, which is interesting. But yeah, the vocal range, again, I like to push my boundaries when it comes to what I can sing. This one doesn't push it as much. Some of my other songs on the album really stretch it. Like if I'm having a bad vocal day, like I can't even sing it. So this one I can safely sing, whether I'm, a little hoarse or whatever. But some of them push my boundaries. But I do like pushing. It's almost like a personal growth thing. Like it's not. Yeah, it's nice to show off your voice and things like that, and that's a part of it. But it's just about it's just about pushing myself as an artist and pushing myself to kind of sing, show off and use my talents, but also
to me it's a good choice too, but I'm a little bit old school as Phil is, and I don't know, you see these contemporary young singers, and they're that they're perfectly capable because you've seen them do it, expansive ranges, but when it comes to producing a record, they just don't. They stay within 3-4 notes, and
what was so nice,
it's definitely a choice. It's not it's not that you can't, it's just you're not doing it.
And what was so nice is some singers, when they can sing, they do that sort of over ornamentation thing, which might be fun to sing, but I don't think it's that much fun to listen to, frankly. And it's just sort of pure melody, and it's really nice to hear that. So kudos.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Okay, I'm here in the band, so I think that is all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Jenny Mallard.
Thank you.
Where can we direct our listeners to hear more of your music?
Yeah, so Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, all that good stuff. And check out my website, jennymallardmusic.com.
Jenny Mallard Music? Okay, great. And we want to hear from you. listeners. So please send your comments on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes. Subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. And you can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mention on the show at our resources page on the website. And please join us our next monthly Song Talk meetup. Whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups, it's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup, bring a song and a lyric sheet, and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com, and you can follow Phil at
philemery.ca.
And Jenny, what's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram, Jenny Mallard. Yeah.
On Instagram, of course. And thanks for listening, everybody. Be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on
writing.
That's so fun.
That's a great song. It really
super.
is.
Thank you. I've never had anyone like analyze it before. So
Really?
I'm like, that was an experience. I was like, like, I didn't know, like, I didn't know, you guys know more about like the actual, like you said, the technical part of it than I think I do. So it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Yeah. It happens sometimes where we point out something and songwriters like, really? I didn't even intend that, but
Yeah, it's there. It's subconscious. Like,
it's subconscious. Well, it's subconscious, but it's also that you've listened to enough songs and you've written enough songs that you kind of developed your intuition.
Yeah.
Right.
It is more intuitive, but it's also like, again, like the poem thing. It's like I'm writing in stanzas. This has to rhyme with this, and I know that this has to rhyme. Like this structure has to match this structure. So, it was interesting though.
That's what people say about music theory. Like the Beatles didn't use music theory, and I'm like, whether you're using it or not, it's there.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's there for other people to discover, and we can analyze the Beatles' music to the nth degree with their theory, even though they may or may not have known it. They had George Martin. You can be sure he knew his theory.
And they also played many years playing other people's songs, and that's a great way of learning how to write songs. When I started off, I didn't back in the 80s and 90s, you didn't do covers because it just wasn't cool. Or if you did a cover, it would be like a B-side of an obscure Ultravox album or something. Because we didn't do covers, that was it, and that was so stupid because you learn so much by doing covers.
Well, that's how I did it. That's how I kind of started writing. Was I went my whole life like singing covers and singing, Newfoundland music and Taylor Swift and all the older Taylor Swift is.
I can hear Taylor in your songs.
Yeah. Her older stuff though, like her Red album, like so much, like her country storytelling. That's what really caught me, and that's what caught me with a lot of the older, Taylor Swift isn't older, but like her older stuff and like the female storytelling. It's really cool.
Great stuff.
We were talking about our draft show for next week. You want to tune in for that one? We're doing all female songwriters from the 2000s as our criteria.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so fun.
Or at least female fronted bands or female fronted acts, like not songwriters, but
that's awesome.
So
I find like female country and male country so different too. Like they're two completely different genres. I see memes about it all the time. It's like men are like, beers and trucks, and women are like, I want to kill my husband.
Keyless truck.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so interesting. There's that hip hop rim shot that has sort of gotten into so much of modern country.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's like, I liked an interesting thing that happened with old punks is they all got into alt country because it was honest. And of course it was pure, Hank Williams stripped down country. It wasn't. And the stuff now is just so, Well, I mean, people love it. There's nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't seem very country to me. I guess you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. Sometimes I struggle with being a country artist because I don't like, I've never really considered myself country. And then the stuff that I was writing was considered country. There's a lot of, influence on my songwriting, a lot of different genres in there. And it was really hard to pick a
It's not twangy enough. It's not twangy enough to be country.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's pop. It's mainly pop, but the storytelling. Yeah, but the
who
storytelling.
says pop can't be storytelling?
I know, but like when you think pop, like I think like pop artist of the year in Newfoundland, like her music is like stuff that you listen to downtown dancing. Like it's it's different. It's different. It's just
I
genre
get
is a
that.
social
I get
construct.
yeah. I know. Yeah, totally is. Try to put yourself into a box, you're never gonna fit.
That's true.
Yeah. Cool.
Goodness gracious. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Jenny. Jenny, that was really,
Thanks so much.
fun.
Thank you so much. This has been an awesome experience.
And
I
we'll
can't wait to listen, and I can't wait to listen to all your other episodes. So
Cool.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
And hopefully I'll see you around sometime at the in the St. John's music
an
scene.
open mic.
Absolutely, come out to a show. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm playing like every weekend. So drop down.
okay.
Go.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
do that.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. See ya.
All right.
All right.
Take
Have a
care.
good one. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Watch out for the freezing fog.
Oh, jeez. That was freezing fog.
I don't know, but I don't think I want to know. It's terrifying. Like living in a Stephen King novel. Jeez.
Jeepers.